Did you know that you can stream the best of HBO shows and more with the new Astro? Better than before, no rain interruptions, no repeats, just stream anytime and on demand via the Astro Ultrabox. It starts from only RM 59.90 a month, and you can find out more information at astro.com.my. You're listening to the Goggler Podcast, Bahir and Uma with you, and today we are going to be reviewing yet another local production. This one is called Abang Adik. It's directed by Jin Ong, and it stars Kang Renwoo and Jack Tan. And let me say, this movie was absolutely fantastic.
My only complaint is that it's come out at the end of the year when most people have either finished their movies of the year list or just not in the mood for a movie this serious and heavy. Like me, I wasn't in the mood for a movie this serious or heavy, but this was a fantastic film.
I mean, we should note, yes, this is a very serious and heavy movie. It is absolutely heart wrenching, but it is not dour or depressing.
Hmm.
It highlights very real problems that people face. And obviously, there is an extreme situation that our characters are put in, but it's done in a way that doesn't make you give up on the world. And I think that's the important part.
I agree. And I also think that what helps is the fact that there isn't a big bad facing Abang and Adik, right? It's not that there's a corrupt Malaysian government or a member of parliament that's specifically trying to ruin these people's lives.
Right.
Even the cops are not bad cops. They're just doing their job. Sure, they're on the opposite side of our protagonists, but that doesn't make them bad people.
Exactly. And I think that's some very astute writing on the part of Jin Ong, who's done an incredibly great job in crafting these characters. So the story centers around Abang and Adi. The both of them are undocumented, so they don't have ICs. And that's essentially the theme of this movie. It's about how difficult life is in Malaysia, even if you are a Malaysian but don't have an IC. That IC controls everything. You can't open a bank account, you can't get a proper paying job, you can't do anything.
I think undocumented sort of conjures up immigrant images, right? Whereas this is just people who have fallen between the cracks, literally.
And there are a lot of these people. And I don't mean immigrants who have come in, like you said, Bahir, but actual Malaysians whose parents just didn't bother to register their children when they were born. And so there are undocumented Malays, Chinese, and Indians who don't have an IC and therefore find it very difficult to get work. And of course, the system is very prohibitive in actually finding a way forward for these individuals. Now, this is one of those stories. I think the way that these two brothers, in inverted commas, are drawn is incredibly beautiful.
Mm.
So much time is spent on developing their relationship that by the time you get to the emotional, climactic parts of the movie, you really feel it because you're so engaged with these characters and that you feel a part of their lives.
My only other sort of comment is that because the movie is almost emotionally draining throughout, that when the even more so emotional bits come up towards the end of the film, towards the third act, you're almost already too sad for that, at least for me, because there was no peaks and troughs, right? This was all just from the moment the screen starts playing, it's almost literally all emotionally downhill. So at the end, when things happen, I was sad, but I was like, I've already been sad for the last hour of this movie.
I get that. Though I have to say, I didn't find that a problem. If only because I think the movie was littered with real, interesting, genuine character moments. And despite
Yeah.
the fact that you know what's coming, in the sense that you've seen enough movies to know that when they keep showing you scenes with these hard boiled eggs, you know that it's going to be an emotionally heart wrenching end involving those eggs. At the same time, when it happens, you really fucking feel it. And I think that speaks to the quality of the writing because, yet again, Jin doesn't make a big show of it. And it feels incredibly true to these characters. And so every time something bad happens to them, I think the movie moves at such a pace that it doesn't necessarily give you much time to get too sad or too bored or too angry.
And you know what it is? It almost feels like from Abang and Adi's point of view, it's like, oh, it's just another thing. This is another Tuesday of bad things happening in my life.
There is a fantastic moment at the end of the film, or towards the end of the film, when Abang is talking to a monk. And it's
Oof.
essentially a monologue. Now, the character of Abang is deaf, so he's signing, right? And it's essentially a monologue of him signing. What would feel like a diatribe or preachy is undercut by that performance.
Yeah.
And I think ordinarily, if an actor were to speak those words out loud, it might come off as a little theatrical. But in this situation, I was completely enthralled because of the
Yes.
signing.
It's because if you were saying it, it almost feels like you have to do stuff with your hands, right? You have to accentuate moments with your hands. But when you're signing, the accentuation, the volume of what he's speaking or signing rather comes from the franticness of the way he's signing. He's almost shouting it out. He literally shouts it out at points in that sort of monologue, and it's just heartbreaking. It is,
Ugh.
but beautiful, right? And even then, I think Jin Ong's direction during that scene is so simple. He stays out of the way of the performance, right? He doesn't do anything with the camera. He knows that he's got an award-winning performance in that sequence, in that monologue, so he doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't cut away. There's a slow zoom in, and it's just painfully beautiful.
The whole movie is shot absolutely beautifully.
Yeah.
The lighting is fantastic. The shot decisions are exceptional. I think, apart from 3 wide shots that show you the KL skyline to set the scene, almost everything else takes place on the streets of Pudu. And it's a street level POV that is absolutely necessary. But it isn't even done in that sense of, oh, let's contrast this with the bigger Kuala Lumpur. The bigger Kuala Lumpur almost doesn't exist in this film. It's just that street level Kuala Lumpur that we never see,
Yeah.
or that we don't experience. And so the decision to shoot it in that way, the decision to not exploit the skyline like so many Malaysian movies do, all of that just reflects some really mature filmmaking. And this is Jin's first movie as a director. I mean, he's produced lots of films, but this is his directorial debut, and it is so fucking accomplished, right?
The cinematographer is the same cinematographer that did The Garden of Evening Mists.
Oh,
that's,
okay.
yeah,
There we go.
that's something to keep in mind. But you're right. I think it would have been so easy to put, especially when your characters are set in a place like Pudu, where it's so close to the multi-million dollar accommodations of the 0.01% of Malaysians, right? It's so easy to do that shot of this guy in his torn up jeans standing looking up towards the new TRX building with its lights and all that. And I think they do it one time. There's one shot that they do it in, and I think even that was enough.
But even the way the characters play it, right? No one's looking up. There is nothing to look up to because your lives are miserable in a sense.
Yeah, you're not even dreaming for that. You're not even hoping for a car. You're just wishing that you might get some extra pork in tonight's dinner.
Exactly.
It's a real side of Malaysia that I think a lot of us not only don't experience, but probably try not to think about too hard because it just makes you feel really sad. But this movie does it in a way where it's not really blaming anybody, and I love that. I think it's just an unfortunate turn of circumstance for these two characters. Yes, we should do better as a society, but this is what it is like.
I think these characters are drawn in a way in which they don't necessarily blame anyone for their plight.
Yeah.
Yes, their parents are to blame, but at the same time, even his diatribe at the end of the movie is more a sense of you don't know what it feels like, so don't lie to me and say that you do.
Yeah.
My life is miserable and I'm trying to be better, but I do not have a chance or a choice. It's impossible. And so this is my lot in life and I just want to die. I think it's a very interesting take. And I think it's a movie that all Malaysians have to watch. Not just because of the message of the film, but because it's so beautifully made. I left the cinema and I called you and I was like, wow, in 2023, we've had 7 movies by my count that have been exceptional. We've had Imaginor, La Luna, Abang Adik, Police Evo 3, Hungry Ghost Diner, Rahsia, Mariam Pagi ke Malam. Now, that for me is some pretty fantastic innings, right? Because ordinarily, we'd be hard pressed to find 1 or 2 Malaysian
Yeah.
movies a year that are exceptional. So 2023 has been a very, very good year. And I'll say it. I think Abang Adik should have been our Oscar submission. I think this is the kind of movie that might make it to a shortlist because it is so accomplished. It is so beautifully shot. The lighting is amazing. The music fits. Everything just sings. And those performances are award worthy. They're so understated.
This is a movie with a message that isn't a message movie. It's not screaming at you to pay attention to the downtrodden of Malaysians. It doesn't need to do that because the writing is so strong, the performances are fantastic that it knows that it can hit you with nuance, that if you pay enough attention to it, you will get what it's trying to say.
This movie also highlights some incredible inconsistencies when it comes to LPF approvals, right? One of the main characters in the film is queer trans coded, main character, mind you, not even a side character, and yet it was approved by LPF. And then, of course, with regards to any kind of Hollywood movie, anything that, what's the phrase, promotes a healthy image of LGBTQ is not allowed in this country. So it's incredibly inconsistent. And you know what, Bahir, you've watched the movie. I've watched the movie. A whole bunch of people have watched the movie. Do you want to be trans, Bahir? Have you suddenly changed your mind about your
Nah,
whole sexual
no.
and gender identity?
No,
No?
no.
Are you
no.
sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Because you're Malay, and that's the people they're worried about. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
know.
checking.
I know.
Lah.
It's very. We Malays are very.
I'm
at
just
risk
checking.
one.
I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
checking. Okay, because me neither.
yeah.
I'm perfectly happy with who I am.
Yeah. But see, because the maybe it's because the transgender character was not Indian or Malay.
Oh, could be.
Mm.
Character was Chinese.
Yeah.
This is also a Chinese movie, which is probably why it was never submitted for the Oscars anyway, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think I do not want to spend my day just hammering home Finas and LPF because frankly I have better things to do in my time. You're right, there's an inconsistency here, and I think they've really missed the fucking trick by not waiting for movies for something like this to come out and deciding that maybe this was a better submission of a film compared to what they've submitted. Look, I'm not saying anything. I haven't seen Tiger Stripes, and that's fine. But like, this was fantastic.
They don't have to wait for this to come out, though. They would have seen the film. It's done the festival circuits.
Yeah,
it's not like anyone from Finas didn't see the movie. I mean, the fact that it got some backing, it got FEMI.
That's true.
And the reason it got FEMI was only because it made all of this noise on the global circuit, right?
Yeah, of course.
Which is standard practice, right?
Yep.
Your movie won't get made in Malaysia. You take it out into the world. Everyone else recognizes its greatness. And then Finas, whose job it is to support local talent, will then go, oh, wait, are you saying Germany likes your movie? Well, in that case, we like your movie too.
I mean,
watching this genuinely made me mad. I was in awe at the beauty of this film and how much it moved me. But it made me mad because we had a movie that was emotionally resonant, that actually meant something, that we could have submitted to the Oscars, that wasn't shy to show what life in Malaysia is like, warts and all. And yet we didn't. I mean, the same thing happened with Jagat when you think about it, right?
Yes. Yep.
And so, yeah, that made me mad because I really enjoyed this movie. Enjoy is a strong word because the movie is not enjoyable in that sense because the
Yeah.
message is pretty harsh.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
as a filmmaking experience, as a cinematic experience, I was like, wow, it's so refreshing to see Malaysian movies like this.
We've had the good fortune of having at least potentially 6 or 7. I may disagree with you on one or two, but I think overall it's been a fantastic year, and I think Abang Adik is a great way to end it. Unfortunately, it may not end up being our submission to a massive international festival, but I think, if anything, I think films like this prove that I'm absolutely a defeatist. That if you want to make good movies, get the fuck out of the country and make it somewhere else. Come back, or don't come back. It's just just make good fucking movies somewhere else. It's because we don't have it, right? We don't have it in us to stay out of our own ways. Politics gets in the way, censorship gets in the way, over eager executives get in the way, over eager politicians get in the way. Just don't bother. I think Abang Adik is a perfect example of what you can do if you're not here. And I think even then this film is referred to as a Taiwanese co-production.
It is a co-production, yes.
Yeah, so maybe that's why it can't be submitted.
No, that's bullshit.
No? Okay.
I don't think
I'm just
those
curious.
rules apply because even if you look at Tiger Stripes, it is a co-production with at least 6-7 different other countries,
That's
right?
true.
Based on where they got the funding from.
Yeah.
If you look at Japan's submission, which is Wim Wenders' Perfect Day,
Yeah. Yeah.
he is a German director
Yeah.
making a Japanese movie and submitting it for the Oscars.
Yeah.
I think that's a poor excuse if they're actually using that as an excuse. But
Yeah.
all we can say is we highly recommend that you go and watch this movie as soon as you possibly can. Forget Aquaman. That's going to be in cinemas for a while. You can watch that later. Go watch Abang Adik. You will not be disappointed. And mind you, it's so beautifully shot that it is a cinematic experience. It looks absolutely fantastic on the big screen. The camera work, the lenses, this is not some amateur film school movie lah. It looks good, guys. It looks great.
And you know what it is? It's also, again, going back to the cinematography, as you've mentioned it, everything's with intention, right? It's not just, oh, I'm going to put a camera here because my actors are going to be stalking over there. There's a reason for that bokeh. There's a reason for that shot focus. There is a reason why that shot of the two of them on a motorcycle holding a little goat behind them is shot handheld, because it gives you a certain emotion and a feeling as it drives around Pudu. And I feel like intention is sometimes forgotten with regards to cinematography.
No, you're absolutely right. There is a harshness to the environment that is really demonstrated in the way this movie is shot. Kuala Lumpur is a character here, Pudu is a character here. They highlight the difficulty of that life. And it's not just because they live in a rundown Pangsapuri. That's not it. There's more to it, right? And I think all of that is displayed fantastically in the cinematography. Seriously, go watch Abang Adik. It is now showing in Malaysian cinemas. Let us know what you think once you've seen it. You know how to get in touch. Goggler MY, all of our social media feeds. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline 012-524-5208. Drop us a line on any one of those channels and we'll send you a link to join our brand new Discord server where you can chat with us in real time. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.